और खश्म है खल्क बहरे आतशीस्त खश्म है खल्क बहरे आतशीस्त दाव में राहत दाइमन बेराहतीस्त बहरे यारी मार जो यद आदमी मार जो यद बहरे यारी मार जो यद आदमी गम खुरद बहरे हरीफे बेगमी. Man wages war and takes trouble to learn the value of peace. If a man does not face the difficulties of war, how can he realize the value of peace? A snake catcher or a snake charmer makes friends with a snake to earn his living, while the snake does not care a straw for him. In other words, there is no peace or earning a living without danger. The body of man is also like a snake. You feed it, but it does not care for you, and rebels when you need it. Consequently, it is the spiritual dimension that is eternal and deserves your attention. My dear Nosogo and Bakalo, wherever in the Hazara communities, world Hazara communities you may be, we are addressing you from the Hazara Pioneers Library at Mechidtv on a Munji strategy which says it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. Haikido Naurozawar. Welcome to this part. This was the beginning from the essence of Rumi's Masnavi, which is part of the library. This was in connection to the last one, which was chapter 8. And in that, khashm wa shahwat mard ra ahwal kunad. You know, it will make you double-sighted. You lose the concentration with anger and lust. And this is what normally takes man or masses into war. This is the motivator of war. So once the war comes to you, you have no choice but to be a warrior, even if you're living in a peaceful garden. And now is the time for chapter 9 of A VIZIER'S Daughter by LILLIAS Hamilton in the time of AMIR Abdur Rahman, the time of war, a Hazara war, or the Hazara war that happened and concluded in 1893. Have we learned the value of peace? That's the question. But let's go to the story. Chapter 9. A father's decision. یک پدر تصمیم گرفتنیه. یک پدر چه رقم تصمیم میگیره؟ What's this letter, brother? Wali Muhammad asked the vizier one morning. دیدیستی غلام حسین یک خط میگرنه میری از را ولی محمد مگر برادر این چیز خط چیز است It's a letter from the Colonel Farhad Shah, the commander of the Afghan forces. But I can't rightly make it out, and I don't exactly understand what the messenger is trying to tell me either. He talks in a language I don't quite understand. Half Pashto, it seems to me. something about a girl. You read it and see what you make of it. A letter from Farhad Shah that can mean no good to any of us. Ghulam Hussain replied anxiously, we shall have to sound the call and assemble the men in force. The Amir meant what he said, evidently. The cuckoos are to be turned out of the nests they have occupied so long. They must find shelter elsewhere, along the kites and eagles perhaps. Amir gufta bud ki ii kukuwa ki hamda jay qabza kda da ashiyane murghai watani ina bayad bora diga raikh paida kana muqaddam zi kites and eagles bora diga da hawa bora diga jay khu jayz nani diga. He spoke bitterly, then took up the letter Wali Muhammad had brought and commenced reading, at first aloud, then gradually his wife sank into a whisper. Then the words were uttered so rapidly as to be inaudible, then ceased. Only the reader's eyes skimmed over the paper rapidly and then dropped it. My God, this is too much. He cried. What's the matter, Ghulam Hussain? Speak in the name of God. What is it? The big little man said hurriedly, why this agitation? Is there anything wrong? Has he sent for our submission to the Afghan rule? Speak, man. What has happened? He has sent for Gul Begum, for my child, my beloved, the Vizier replied quietly. The blow had stunned him. Are our very daughters to be torn from us and violated at their pleasure? My God, this is not war. What is it? I hear you have a niece, he says, a tall, handsome girl, whose name is, I think, Gul Begum. Ikhat Emir نوشته. كما عشان دوم كتير دختري برادري بخالم كنام شيء Gul Begum. I require her. لازم درم. ميخايم. Send her to me by my messenger. يقاسيتك ما رأيكم قشريكو. And mind. خبردار. No delay. Or, mark my words, and I am not a man to trifle with. I will come and fetch her myself, or will send such messengers as you are not likely to refuse anything to. My God, the dogs, the chief said sadly, looking out onto the plain as though he already half expected to see them come tearing up the slope. I hear he keeps a whole pack of them. This slave boy monster whom the Amir has raised to the rank of colonel, what shall you answer, brother? Isagay zihu ma yetim bachare ki Amir kitaka dal colonel jorga da janazmo. Skarne ali. That he must send his wolfhounds or must come himself to fetch her. There can be no other answer to such a demand. Where is the messenger? Let us find out how far his master is from here. Or stay, what is the use of asking? He would not tell us. Let us send some polite message to gain time. جواب شیر بیدی یک درست حسابی جواب بیدی که موکم وقت پیدا کنی که نفریای خرجام کنی اتای. It will take some consideration to come to any conclusions as to what we had better do. وقت خو لازم داریم یک کاری خو کردنی میخوایم یه خو یک تو جواب بیدیم رایی کنیم قاسی در پس. Look here, brother, the little chief said firmly. Listen to me. I have a proposal to make. This colonel is a great man and powerful. I'd give Gul Begum to him in marriage if I were you. اگر ما دختر از من بود ما قرار قضیه عرض وزیر مقدم قدش. Make legal marriage the condition. Of course, he added, seeing that the man he was addressing had moved impatiently and was evidently preparing to put the idea aside as possible. She is a handsome girl and clever and has winning ways when she chooses. This marriage might save our whole village from much trouble and molestation. It's a good idea and will at any rate gain time. I had sent a message to him expressing satisfaction at the proposal and Cease, brother, cease. Your words cut through me like a knife. This man means no marriage. Besides, he has 40 wives and more. And if he had none, he meant to make Gul Begum a queen. I would rather see her dead than given to such a friend. Farad Shah is not a man, nor would I dishonor the creatures God has made by calling him brute. وحشی و جنگلی که بگم هم به احترامی به حیوانات میشه. He is a devil in the guise of man. لباس انسان پوشیده مگر کاملا شیطانه. There is nothing human in him. I would kill Gul Begum with my own hand rather than let him have her. What shall we do then? The chief asked impatiently. How are we to get rid of this difficulty? The whole village can't be sacrificed to just one girl. What do you suggest? Me? I suggest that as you are so anxious to provide this monster with another wife, then you should send him Shireen. She's a nice girl and a good one. Tell him Gul Begum is married, but as you are proud to be connected with so great a man, you send your daughter to him instead. چطوره می پلان؟ Gul Begum خو ازدواج کرده و خو علی نکاحی کس دیگه. برو شیرین رایی کنه که میخوای دوستی کنی قضیه آدم. The little man was very wroth. It was not often his cousin spoke to him in such bitterness. He does not mention Shireen, knows nothing of her. وخو شیرین نخواسته که ما رایی کنم. ویش نمفهم نمیشناسه شیرین کس. Fortunately, my girl is a modest girl, and I have made no public boast of her good qualities. یک بحیا دختر است و هیچ وقت در خلق کسی درباره از اون چیز نگفتیم نمیشنویم. So when there is danger, she is passed over unnoticed. وقتی خطرم کس متوجهش نمیشه دیگه. While the proud and haughty ones find themselves in difficulty. این المغرورا این النمایشم در خلق برش دین البورن گاز کن ندیگه. I am a Mohammedan and know what a woman's place is and keep her in it. This is no time to quarrel, Wali Muhammad. The man he called his brother said more quietly, you know the Amir's story of the cats. Don't let this monkey run off with our prize while we are fighting. We must think how best we can frustrate this colonel, how best we can answer him. I look to you for help in this trouble. The little man was mollified. This was as it should be. Kamaram shud. His advice, of course, ought to be asked. Was he not the chief? If you had given Gul Begum in marriage as I wanted you to do, the girl's mother said testily, we should not be in this trouble now. She had plenty of suitors and she is of an age to be married. We have our other children to consider. If you don't like this colonel for a husband for her, give her to someone else. And send a message saying she is married. That would settle the question once and for all, as far as we are concerned. She would have a husband whose business it would be to protect her. I'll tell you what I might do, Ghulam Hussain said thoughtfully, ignoring his wife's remark. There is that Muhammad Jan down in the next village. His father asked Gul Begum's hand in marriage for him some time ago. He's certainly not the man I would choose for her. Not of course at all. I have not seen him myself since he was a boy. But the father was a good old man, though ignorant and obstinate, Sarshakh, Jahil. Yes, but he's dead now, Wali Muhammad broke in. He died in the early part of the winter. True, but there is the son still living. And that is the chief thing at this moment. He must be well off now. The old man had camels and carried on some trade, they say. He had only this one son. He must have got it all. تجارت پیشه بود، مال داشت، اما مالایش کل پیش بچهش من در دیگه امیدوار هستم که از اقتصادی برابر باشه. How are you going to manage that? His wife asked crossly. You surely are not going to ask him to take your daughter in marriage now when a few months ago you refused to let him have her. چند ماه پیش تو میگی نه، آلی میگی ما. That would be a strange thing to do. بخی عجیب کار منید. Don't you trouble yourself over that much, mother, she said quietly. It's not easy to arrange all of a sudden. I grant, but I dare say we shall manage it. You go off to your cooking and your sewing. I'll let you know what we decide in good time. Then turning to his companion, he said, Look here, Wali Muhammad. I might send the old grandmother down to Muhammad Jan's with a gun and some clothes and a sheep or two, and tell him he shall have them if he will let Gul Begum be named on him. Mugamma ami khusur madara raimanam bora da tayna qarya Muhammad Jan paida kana khaneshra yag tufangcha chan jorakala یک دو بوزیا گسپو که اینی رو بیگر دزی شرط که ای دنام توشنا گل بیگم and will take her into his establishment till this war is over. و گل بیگم دو خانه تو زندگی منا تا وقتی که جنگ خلاص نشده. For war there is going to be. There can be no doubt about that. Jang shudani hasta khulasa. On the full understanding, however, that the whole plan is a mere ruse to take in this Colonel Farhad Shah. تمام برنامه بريزيه كي جوابي كان لفراد شاربية. These are days when men will do much for a rifle. And to purchase one by merely offering a home and protection to a young and handsome girl for a few months would tempt most men. وبيكشان ما مؤمنة دخانيتو تفانكشام تديستو مايا تو فقط نگاه كده نيشر. That's not a bad idea, Wali Muhammad admitted. قفت خب plan معلوم باشه. You have some cunning ideas about you. شارستيتو ها? Brother, we must all admit that, but how are we to manage about this messenger? Ali قصيد كم ده يرش كار كني. He's still in my house. طوال ده خانيز مشتا. Oh, we'll easily dispose of him. والريمني مالي. We'll presuppose that Muhammad Jan will consent to take Gul Begum on my conditions. أمي تصميم أمي استا كي محمد جان داستان را قبول منا دختر مرمیگره برای یک چند ماه که می جنگ خلاص شنه امور نگاه کنه حفاظت شیر کنه یک تفنگ چره این یک چند مال و یک چند توفه های دیگه که امور پیش فعلا نگاه کو باز مقاصدی چیکار کنی گفت وزیر مارایی منو برید تصمیم می است که محمد جان ایگا برا قبول کرده که درسته ای توفه ما میگرم و چند ماه جنگ کی بود ما گل بیگم را دی خانه خو نگاه منم the plan was simple ki Gul Begum is married. Irbubar the khabara da Farad Shabir Sunno. Bah! That's the use of that. What's the use of that? The colonel won't believe a word of it. Walagi bawar kanao. And will send another messenger here in less than 2 days. A messenger that will bring death and destruction. That may be so, but I think not. And we must risk something. Most assuredly, he will send someone to find out the truth of our statement. But by then, my bird will have flown and will be beyond his reach. He won't want a married woman for his haram. They are lawless, these Afghans, but not so lawless at all. Send that messenger to me. Or stay, I will go with you to your house. He will be getting impatient. Good day to you, soldier. Askar Sahib khubasti? Ghulam Hussain said, smiling as he entered. Do you know anything of the errand on which you have come, and can I send a verbal message by you? تو از داستانی قصه که ورده خبر داری؟ و ما میتونم یک پیغام زبانی ری کنم؟ Or must I write your master a letter? یا برای آقای تو نوشته کنم میره؟ I know nothing of the message. ما هیچ از کدوم پیغام نمیفهمم. The man said gruffly. Only that I was to bring back a woman. مارا پس یک زن رای کده اینجی. And see that she is provided with a good pony. که اسبش خوب سهی باشه and is closely veiled. اور پردهش برابر باشه. The colonel said nothing about a letter. Colonel صاحب دوباره خدمت چیزی نگفته مرا. Well, I will tell you this much, and that is that you would have to ride 9 miles from here to get the woman your master mentions. یک 9 میلی طرف بوری باید زن پیدا کنی دیگه اینج نیه. She is not here. She is married now and lives there with her husband. I will write this to Colonel Farad Shah, lest there should be any confusion in the message. And so that you may not be blamed for the delay. Had he sent some 6 weeks ago, he would have been in time, and we might have made some terms respecting the girl, agreeable to both parties. But now she is gone, so that opportunity is lost. بدبختانه دیگه شش هفته پیش اگر میمدید بود مگر این التازه مورا دشوی دیده. The soldier smiled. It won't be lost. گم نمشه خیره. In fancy, if he really wants the girl, the colonel is not the man to let husbands stand in his way. 6 weeks is not very long. I dare say he will know how to settle that. ما فهمو چطور جور باید قضو شوی زو. Well, when the husband's settled, you must come and let us know. وقتی امرایز نتورا گفتین قد شوی زو باز باید مورا خبر کن. The vizier said, laughing, and apparently quite indifferent. But قد شوی که business. Then we'll begin to think about terms, Wali Muhammad said cunningly. He did not see that his cousin's plan was likely to be of much use in this case, but it was worth trying. And at all events, by sending Gul Begum away, the Afghan colonel's attention would be directed from his village. فكرنا مغا plan زي ولا حسين چندان دکار نیا مگر اقلا نمی قدر از ازی قریه ازی کی ایمیر است ازی کم از کم چپ مشاهده توجه ازی کرنال. And that was what he chiefly cared about. For his niece, he cared but little. وده فكرة كل دهات بود. Stay, have some tea while I write the letter. بفرمایید چای بخورین با شما خط نوشته کنم. Ghulam Hussain said pleasantly to the messenger, I can give you as good tea here as you could get in Kabul. أنا ما قدر چای خوب تبيدم كده كابول مخريته. For all we live in so out of the way, a part of the world, I'll treat you to my best. This was a pleasant reception than the soldier was accustomed to. And while the tea was being prepared by Gul Begum herself in the back part of the dwelling, and her father was writing the letter in the front part, a little old woman started out to make the agreement with Muhammad Jan. The utraf خسر مادری وزیر کستا درو شرط شرعی در جور نقد Muhammad Jan. She was mounted on the best pony Ghulam Hussein's stable could produce, the بهترین اسب سوار بود, and the man who accompanied her carried an English rifle in his hand. و نفری که امرایزو همراهی مکرد دیشی یک رایفل انگلیسی کی محمد جان رو ببینه فوراً بگه چشم مایی را گل بیگون و نگاه نمیک چند وقت بریز تو تا که این جنگ خلاص نشده. Nosego Bakulo, boys and girls of the Hazara pioneers' legacy. The question comes to war. In the beginning, Rumi said that in order to understand the value of peace, men must go through the pain of war. So the Hazara War, 1893, collapse of the Hazara lands, dispersion of the Hazaras around the world for the 130 years. This is the story, war and migration. My dear Nosego, teenager, you must listen while you're probably it's a good idea to sit with Bakul or Ajay and share the story wherever you may be, so that you know what price you have paid for peace that you're seeking. You have paid with your life blood. जीने का हक उनको पता होता है जो कि जीने से हाथ धो बैठे हैं. Why is it repeating is another story. Once a lesson is learned, it is never repeated in the world. Thus our lesson again is, it is better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. Haikido Nowroz Zawar. Haikido Nowroz Zawar.